visit these again. Get one, at least one, up and running again. These are Motorola A-1s. They're called Playboys. They are Motorola's entry into the personal radio market in the early 1940s, just before the war. The lid, just like any personal set, has the antenna. It's just a standard wire loop. You have your volume here, your tuning here. And this is the automatic switch that when you close it, it turns off. When you open it up, it turns on. Now, this is the first one I got back in 1991. As you can see, there's wires here. Well, what happens is they used to have two metal straps, and eventually those things break down. So that's what I had to wind up using for both of these. This one is in a lot rougher shape. This one's in almost near mint condition. I'm going to concentrate on this one to see if I can get it cleaned up and running properly. To get inside of these, there's a little button assembly that you push down, slides down, and I'm going to have to do this off camera. This is then supposed to just pop right off. Well, this one's a lot tougher than it looks to be, so I'm going to have to get in there and just slowly pry it open with the screwdriver, and I'll show you the insides. I successfully put a small screwdriver under this lip and pried it free. So now this will come down. No hinge, just has a couple of small lips that go into these slots. And I'll show you the diagram here. Here's your tube outlay. 1R5, which is your oscillator. 1T4, which is IF. 1S5, that's your detector, and then 3S4 for the output. Shows you how to take it apart once you've got this open. And this is not one of the more sensitive sets. It has the two trimmers for the IF1 here, and then for the second one it just has one. It doesn't have that second one, so not as sensitive. But I am going to give this thing a full shakedown once I get everything replaced on it. There is one other thing about this radio that is a first. If I am not mistaken, and I read somewhere about it because they were saying how clever Motorola's idea was, every radio you see today, when you take the batteries out, you pull out a nylon tape. Well, this is the first radio, supposedly, that used one of these. You put your batteries in and stuff that in, and of course leave the tape hanging out here, and then when you're ready to pull the batteries, pops it right out. Now, I have seen, and it looks like I've already replaced the electrolytic at one point. So that's going to have to be looked at. And here's one other thing. Motorola was notorious for this one. They used a multi-pack capacitor pack. I believe there's about 2 or 3, maybe even 4 small capacitors all in this block, and it's sealed in wax. I'm going to be taking this apart, melting out the wax, putting new parts in, and then reassembling it. Now, to get into this radio, what you have to do is remove or unscrew 3 nuts, actually 4 nuts here, and then there's 1 screw. Well, over time the screw has disappeared, and they used to use like a spot welding to hold the screw threads in place. Well, if you notice, some of them have disappeared. I think that is the only one up there that's left. Let me see on the inside of this one. Yeah, it's gone too. So what's basically holding the front of the cabinet in place is this middle, what do you want to call it? What they call the wraparound housing. That's what's holding it in place, plus the knobs. So I'll go on ahead, take that nut out, pull this apart and you'll get to see what the bare chassis is. I am coming across a problem, and that involves pulling the knobs off. This one, I was able to just get my fingernails inside and just wiggle it out. And I can tell here, this radio, aside from that filter capacitor has not been touched, there's one of the wax capacitors here. Now, the tuning cap, that knob is being a bear. So I've just taken a piece of wire, wrapped it around the back, and I'm just going to gently wiggle that. And I'm going to have to do this two-handed. And I'm going to eventually pull this out. That's usually the best way to do this without shattering the knob. Once again, took a small screwdriver, pried this over, and so now, I'll see if I can do this one-handed. There we go. Starting to get loose. Now I'm surprised this other side has decided it isn't going to cooperate. Here. There it goes. Okay. Now, before I do anything, I've split this off. Now what I've got to do is this is one of the antenna wires. I'm going to have to unsolder them or clip them, one of the two. So that will allow me to get into the chassis, which is now fairly loose, and you can see up here where this plastic sheath is, that's to protect the contacts for the on-off switch. So let me go hunt this down and clip it, and then we'll have a good picture of the chassis. Okay, I've clipped off the antenna leads. One of them was going to here, which in turn went to here. This would be one of the wires that would go with one of those metal straps. So now the last thing I need to do is to unsolder all the connections here to the switch. And once that's done, this front fascia will be free, and then we'll be able to take a look at the chassis. You can see how complicated this is. It's not near as complicated as an RCA 54B, which is, oh, this little set right here. Those have actual disassembly instructions, which are and they are a pain in the butt to work on. That's one of those sets that you don't restore it, you literally rebuild it. But this one's not near as bad. A little touchy. I'm sure servicemen didn't particularly care for it at the time, but it's doable. While I'm here, checking the speaker, not a single scratch on it. We got a good one. So let me go and unsolder these, and I'll be right back. Okay, the chassis is free from the assembly, and this is what we have. Of course, our speaker, small output transformer. Turn this over this way. Here's our volume and tuning capacitor controls. Here are the IF cans, our 4 tubes. Here's that multi-pack that I was telling you about. And of course, way back here, we've seen that, the battery compartment. And this is really early in terms of B batteries, in that they use separate snaps for the B battery. Later on, they would use a paper or cardboard holder that would have these spaced just so, and then you just snap them into place. But in those days, you did separate snaps. And then we go in here, and you can look carefully over here. If I can get my screwdriver to show it. Yeah, right there. That's the oscillator coil. That's probably antenna adjustment if I had to guess, and it looks like it's cracked. I may have to replace that. Lots of paper caps, and this one doesn't look in good shape. This one does. Pretty straightforward. So Probably what I'll need to do to recap is have to remove the antenna assembly. And I'm just going to look over all the other items here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. You can see how tight the radio is. Tightly packed. This was done, they were just built like watches, the only best way I can describe it. Everything is tightly packed. So, before I do anything, I'm going to see if the filament circuit is working, and the way I need to do that is stick a D-cell in here and then take a couple of these wires and put them together. One's going to be the A. It's either these two here, and see if I get a glow. When you do these tubes, battery tubes do not light up like 6 volt or even 12 volt tubes like you see in table sets and such. They glow very dimly, so the only way you can see them is in a very dark room. So that's what I'm going to do next, just to make sure that all the tubes are working. And here's the other funny thing I noticed. Now I would have figured Motorola would have made their own tubes. But I'm looking in here, and I'm seeing Philco branded tubes, which I think is rather odd, and I don't think those are original, to be honest with you. Because I don't think Philco made miniature tubes until much later. So, this was probably retubed at one point. So, let me go see how we stand on the filament situation, and we'll go from there. Well, figured out this is our negative lead for the battery. This is ground. So I put these two together, got no glow whatsoever. So the first thing I need to do is check these contacts. See if I can move this out of the way without hurting anything. There we go. Up and over. I need to check these contacts, make sure I'm getting continuity. And we'll go from there. Part of the problem was corrosion. So I went ahead and cleaned this up, and to my surprise, this is a piece of brass, and this is for the positive end. And this back here, I can move this out of the way, is copper. So I went ahead and cleaned both of those. I'm going to try again and see what I come up with. Okay, that was a little trip that just about drove me bonkers. I tried using the Everready, and Everready has some sort of special dimply bottom that will not allow good contact with these type of springs, so I just had to give up on that. I used this little Panasonic adapter with a battery I knew that was good. Tested here for the front positive, got 1.5 volts. So took it in a dark room, went over here, nothing here, don't know about this one, and hang on just a second while I bring up this side over here. Okay, there's a tube missing. I've got it here in my hand. That showed nothing. This one was the only one that showed filament voltage, so that at least we know showed we had good contact and good filament voltage. Now the rest of these tubes, I don't know. They could be duff, they could be bad, I have no idea. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run these through a checker and see what comes up. Okay, I've got this little simple tube tester. I just want to see if filaments are working or not. So let me bring up what we need. Take a good look at these. Okay, here's our 1R5. This is the 1R5. I want to find out what's going on with this one especially. So, alright, filament volts. We switch to A. Now this is what I gotta remember. Where did all these supposed to go? Everything's at K. Alright, everything's at K. That's done. Alright. 1R5. Filament is at 7. I gotta remember how that's done. I believe this is it. And N is in November is to 5. There it is. P is in Papa is at 4. Alright, there's that. Sensitivity to 60. And then filament continuity is at 1 and 7. Now, I have to again read this because it's been a while since I've messed with this. Okay. Alright. Let's go ahead and see what we get. Well, believe it or not, it is actually good. Well, somewhat. Just barely in the dignified side. So quality is good. Alright. And it is actually showing filament. So let me see if this works. 1, 7. Well, it doesn't show that, but okay. So that's working. Alright, next one. I would have never guessed that one working. I'll wait on that. Well, actually, no. 1S4 is right by it. Filament. Okay, let's drop these down. Filament at 1. Nothing in between. Plate is at 3. Sensitivity at 100. No, I take that back. Sensitivity's at 40. And N is at 5 and 6. So 1, 6. Alright. Here we go. Let's see if this does anything. Got a real good one. Alright, that looks good. Glad to see that. Okay. Like I say, this is a cheap tester, but it's good enough for what I need to do with it. Just I want to know if filaments are glowing or what's going on with them. Well, this is definitely a replacement. It's a silver tone tube, so I know this didn't come original. This is the 1S5. So let me reset. At A-1 for the filament. Set the plate or P at 3. This is to 40. So let's see what happens with this part. Crappy. That doesn't surprise me. Alright. Now, let me make sure that's right. Actually, no, that's supposed to be 100. So, I put it 100. I didn't do jack. Okay. So, then take this down to 60, and instead of 3 we put 6 in here. Questionable. I'll be looking at probably getting rid of this one. because it just don't have the oomph that I need. So that one we're going to drop over there. Alright. Here's the Philco 1T4. And if I didn't know any better, because 1T4 is printed up here, these are probably made by Sylvania, because that's what they used to do. Alright. Now, what I need to do is go here again. Okay. Filament at 7. N is at 5. Plate, or I keep calling it plate, it's probably not, but it might be, I don't know. P is at 6. And this is at 60. Alright, that looks about right. Drop it in. Okay, so the only one I've got problems with is the 1S5. So I'm going to look around, see if I happen to have another one here in stock. I bet there's some over there. So let me go check over here real quick. Feed and Wax, still recommend the stuff highly. Those are definitely not 1S5s. I've already scavenged those. So, crapola. Let me go take a look here. See if I have any in here. From the Hamfest special from last year. Which I called the Parts Fest. What's this? Oh, that's European. That ain't gonna help me. Let me see over here. 3V4. That ain't gonna help me. 1T4. Definitely not. Here's some tubes. 1S5. So let me switch that again. Let's see what I got. 1. Okay, let's see what I got here. Okay, filament is at 1. And then P is at 3. This is at 100. Okay. See if this is any good. Emerson. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Well, no. That's about the same as the other one, but I'm beginning to wonder if that's okay or not. I'm not sure. Some of these readings run low anyway. Alright, so let's take the 3 down. Take this to 60. And 6 is the P, if I'm not mistaken, yes. Ooh, well that's going to be much better. Unless I find another one that has both of them all in the good here, that's going to be my candidate. So, in that one goes. Let me check to see if there's any 1S4s left here. Okay. So these two. 3. And what was that? Okay, there's that. And this must be the new one? Yes. Yep. Okay. Let me scrounge around a little more, see if there's anything else. I don't think there is. There. Ah, here's another 1S5. Alright, let's try it. Huh. Looks a little cloudy, but okay, we'll try it. Nothing. if I had to guess, that's a dud. Because that looks cloudy. Yeah. I don't think anything's happening with that. Let me hear something. Yeah, it's on. So I think that one's just a plain old-fashioned dud. Let me see what this one is. 1U5. That's not going to do me any good. And that's not going to do me any good. Alright. Let me see from the other stocks. What we got here. It's nice to keep a stash of tubes. Call it my secret stash, if you will. But I have a feeling what I've got are nothing but 1U5s instead of 1S5s. Because most of them I see are a lot more common. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing anything here. I'm checking. Here's one. I'm not sure what it is. I'll have to look at it. Not sure. Let me look here. Well, I can try it. Let's see what it does. That could be a 1U5. I'm going to hold off on that. Well, I don't think I'm going to find any more, honestly. I'm going to check one more spot, but... Oh, what's this? One S5. Hot diggity. Alright, let's see what we got. Ah, that's not bad. And then what was the other one? Okay, set that to 6. And set this to 3. And then bring that up to 100. Well, that's worse than the other one. So, okay. Then that one that we just got is the candidate. And that's going to be the one that'll be working with this Motorola. So I think this is probably normal behavior. I'll go ahead and put this back in stock. And we've officially tested the tubes. All of them are good, except for one, which I thought, I'll get something a little stronger, and we'll just go from there.